Ruth Simmons adjusted her hat in the rearview mirror of her aging sedan, letting out a breath as she studied the massive iron gates ahead. Behind them, the Hawthorne estate loomed like something out of a movie, a sprawling mansion surrounded by perfectly manicured hedges and fountains that glistened in the late morning sun. This was a world far removed from the small, cozy home she shared with her sister across town. Today was Ruth's first day as a live-out maid for the Hawthorne family. She had taken the job after seeing an ad in the local paper, hoping to earn extra money to help her nephew through college. As she drove up the long, winding driveway, she couldn't shake the feeling of stepping into a different universe, one filled with wealth, but also an unsettling coldness. At the entrance, a tall man in his 40s opened the door. His sharp suit and disapproving gaze screamed authority. This was David Hawthorne, the master of the house. "Mrs. Simmons," he said, barely looking up from his phone. "Yes, sir. Thank you for this opportunity," Ruth replied politely. "Claudia will show you around. Just don't wander where you're not supposed to," he added curtly, before disappearing into a side room. Ruth's smile faltered, but she maintained her composure. Moments later, a striking woman with impeccably styled hair and a frosty demeanor appeared. Claudia Hawthorne exuded elegance but carried an air of disdain. "This way," Claudia said briskly, leading Ruth through the grand foyer. The house was a labyrinth of marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and antique furniture. Yet, despite its opulence, it felt devoid of warmth. Claudia's tone, as she explained Ruth's duties, made it clear she was expected to blend into the background. As they passed through a sunlit hallway, Ruth caught sight of a small boy sitting on the floor by a bay window. He was pale, with unruly blonde curls, and wore an oversized sweater. He was engrossed in building a tower of blocks, but looked up when he heard footsteps. "Oliver, this is Ruth. She'll be working here now," Claudia said, her tone clipped. The boy offered a tentative wave, but said nothing. Ruth smiled warmly. "Hello, Oliver." "He doesn't speak," Claudia interjected. "He's mute. Don't let him distract you. He can be eccentric." Ruth's heart twinged at the dismissive tone. She knelt to Oliver's level. "Well, I think it's nice to meet you, Oliver." To her surprise, Oliver's face lit up, and he began moving his hands in quick gestures. Ruth only recognized one or two signs, hello and friend, but his enthusiasm was infectious. Claudia rolled her eyes. "He gets carried away. Come, there's more to see." As the day went on, Ruth couldn't shake the image of Oliver's bright eyes and eager hands. There was something about him, a quiet intelligence and an unspoken plea for attention, that stayed with her. The days turned into weeks, and Ruth settled into her routine at the Hawthorne estate. She polished furniture, scrubbed floors, and made beds with precision. But her favorite part of the day was when she would see Oliver. The boy had taken a shine to her, often running to meet her in the mornings. Though Ruth didn't know much sign language, she started looking up basic phrases online to better understand him. Every day, he taught her something new, his small hands flying as he signed words like happy, play, and thank you. However, not everything was as pleasant. Ruth noticed troubling patterns in the household. Oliver's parents rarely interacted with him, treating him more like an obligation than a son. Claudia would sometimes scold him for things he hadn't done, and David barely acknowledged his presence. More unsettling were the bruises Ruth occasionally glimpsed on Oliver's arms. When she asked him about them, he would shake his head and sign something she didn't fully understand. Ruth's worry grew. One evening, as she finished mopping the kitchen, Ruth noticed Oliver standing at the doorway, looking anxious. He signed rapidly, his gestures more frantic than usual. Ruth caught a few words: hidden, danger, and locked. "What is it, sweetheart?" she asked gently. But before she could get an answer, David appeared, his imposing figure casting a shadow over them. "Oliver, go to your room," he ordered sharply. The boy hesitated, looking to Ruth for reassurance. "Now," David barked, and Oliver scampered away. David turned to Ruth, his expression hard. "You're here to work, not to meddle. Do your job and stay out of family matters." Ruth nodded, her heart pounding, but the exchange only deepened her resolve to figure out what was happening in this house. The following weekend, Ruth had a rare day off. Instead of relaxing, she spent hours poring over sign language resources, determined to understand what Oliver had been trying to tell her. By Monday, she had a better grasp of his messages. When Oliver saw her again, he wasted no time signing the same urgent words: hidden, locked, and danger. This time, he added a new phrase: basement. Ruth's stomach churned. She had noticed the locked basement door during her cleaning rounds, but had never thought much of it. Now, it seemed to hold the answers to Oliver's distress. That evening, Ruth waited until the Hawthorns had left for a dinner party. With trembling hands, she tried the basement door, only to find it locked as usual. But a few minutes of searching the nearby drawers yielded a small key labeled storage. She hesitated, her mind racing with the consequences of what she was about to do. Then she thought of Oliver's frightened eyes and pushed forward. The basement was dimly lit and smelled of mildew. At first glance, it seemed like a typical storage area, filled with old furniture and boxes. But as Ruth ventured deeper, she found a locked cabinet. Using the same key, she opened it to reveal stacks of cash, fake passports, and documents that suggested involvement in human trafficking. Ruth's hands shook as she sifted through the evidence. This was more than she had anticipated. She also noticed a small cot in the corner, its sheets stained and torn, as if someone had been kept there. Suddenly, a voice behind her made her freeze. "What are you doing?" Claudia stood at the top of the stairs, her face a mask of fury. I was cleaning," Ruth stammered, quickly closing the cabinet. Claudia descended the stairs, her eyes narrowing. "Don't lie to me. You're fired. Get out of my house." But Ruth didn't leave. Instead, she spent the night gathering her courage and preparing her next move. The following morning, Oliver greeted her with a desperate sign: help. Ruth knew she couldn't wait any longer. She called 911, her voice shaking, as she explained the situation. When the police arrived, Ruth led them to the basement, where they found the incriminating evidence. David and Claudia tried to talk their way out of it, but Oliver's testimony, delivered through Ruth's interpretation, sealed their fate. Social services were called, and Oliver was taken into protective custody. As the Hawthorns were led away in handcuffs, Ruth knelt beside Oliver and promised him a better life. The story ended not with vengeance, but with hope. Oliver was placed in Ruth's care temporarily, and for the first time, the boy who had lived in silence began to laugh and play like any other child. Together, they embarked on a new chapter, one filled with love, safety, and the promise of brighter days ahead. Thank you for joining us on this powerful journey of compassion, courage, and justice. Ruth's story reminds us that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can lead to the most profound changes. It's a testament to the strength of standing up against wrongs and fighting for those who can't fight for themselves. If this story moved you, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know your thoughts. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to stay connected to our community of inspiring stories. And don't forget to share where you're listening from. We love hearing from our audience around the world. Until next time, stay hopeful, stay compassionate, and always stand for what's right.